My name is Hiroshi, and I woke to the soft, golden rays of morning spilling through the cracks in our wooden shutters. The light felt warm against my closed eyelids, coaxing me gently from sleep. But the warmth couldn't chase away the cold weight pressing against my chest. Dreams. No, not dreams. Memories that felt too real to be mine. I lay still on the thin sleeping mat, staring at the ceiling beams darkened by years of smoke from our cooking fire. My mind churned with images that made no sense. A different life. A different world. Glass towers reaching toward the sky. Strange machines that moved without horses. And loneliness. So much loneliness. The images faded as my eyes adjusted to the dim interior of our home, but the feelings remained. Regret sat heavy in my stomach like uncooked rice. Shame burned in my throat. I turned my head slowly and saw her. Mika knelt by the fire pit, her back to me, shoulders curved inward like she was trying to make herself smaller. Her dark hair hung in a simple braid down her back, and even from here I could see the worn patches on her cotton robe. The morning light caught the edge of her profile when she shifted, and something twisted painfully inside my chest. What had I done to her? The question came from somewhere deep, from whoever I was before. Before yesterday. Before everything changed. I didn't have all the memories of this body, this life, but I had enough. Enough to know that the man who lived here before me had been cruel. Thoughtless. He had taken this woman's kindness and ground it into dust beneath his heel. I had drunk away their money. I had shouted words meant to wound. I had made her afraid in her own home. Sorrow rose up through my throat, thick and choking. This wasn't my guilt to carry, was it? But I was here now, in this body, in this life. And Mika didn't know the difference. To her, I was still him. Still the man who had hurt her again and again. I needed to change that. Somehow, the sound of movement pulled me from my thoughts. Mika stood, brushing ash from her hands, and moved toward the door with quiet, practiced steps. She slipped outside without a sound, without even glancing in my direction, like I was just another piece of furniture, something to work around. That hurt more than I expected. I sat up slowly, my muscles stiff from sleep. The morning air was cool against my skin, carrying the scent of earth and new grass through the gaps in the walls. Hannah Valley was waking up around us. I could hear a rooster calling from somewhere nearby and the distant sound of water moving through the irrigation channels that fed the rice fields. I pushed myself to my feet, swaying slightly. This body felt strange still. Different. The balance was off somehow, like wearing someone else's shoes. I steadied myself against the wall and waited for the dizziness to pass. The door creaked open and Mika returned, arms laden with firewood. She struggled under the weight, her thin arms trembling as she stepped carefully over the threshold. The bundle was too large for her, too heavy. Without thinking, I moved forward. "Let me help you with that," I said. The words came out rougher than I intended, my voice still thick with sleep. But they were gentle words, offering words. Mika Furotse. The firewood slipped from her grasp, pieces clattering to the floor between us. She stepped back quickly, her eyes wide, one hand coming up as if to ward off a blow. "I'm sorry," she whispered. The words were automatic, trained. "I didn't mean to wake you. I'll be quieter. I'm sorry." My heart cracked. She thought I was angry. She thought I would hurt her for dropping the wood, for making noise, for existing in a way that displeased me. "No," I said, keeping my hands at my sides, making myself still. "Mika, no, you didn't do anything wrong. I just wanted to help." She stared at me like I had spoken in a foreign language. Her chest rose and fell quickly, and I could see the pulse jumping in her throat. Fear. She was afraid of me. The man I had been. The man whose face I wore. "Are you feeling ill?" she asked finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes searched my face, looking for signs of fever or madness. Because only sickness could explain this change in behavior. "I'm fine," I said quietly. I want to help. Please." I knelt down and began gathering the scattered firewood, moving slowly so I wouldn't startle her further. The wood was rough under my palms, bark scraping against skin not yet calloused from farm work. Each piece I picked up felt like a small offering, a tiny step toward becoming someone different, Someone better. Mika watched me, with confusion written across her delicate features. She didn't move to help. Didn't move at all. Just stood there, arms wrapped around herself, trying to understand what was happening. When I had gathered all the wood, I stacked it neatly beside the fire pit and straightened up. Mika still hadn't moved. "Thank you for getting the firewood," I said. The words felt clumsy in my mouth, but I meant them. "For everything you do." A small sound escaped her throat, almost like a gasp. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and she turned away quickly, moving to the corner where she kept the cooking pots. I had broken something in her. The old me. The old Hiroshi. And I didn't know if it could ever be fixed. But I had to try. The morning passed in uncomfortable silence. I stayed inside, watching Mika work, trying to find ways to help that wouldn't frighten her further. She moved through her tasks with the efficiency of long practice, but her movements were jerky now, uncertain. She kept glancing at me from the corner of her eye, like she expected me to transform back into the monster she knew at any moment. The sound of footsteps outside broke the tension. Heavy footsteps, confident and unhurried. "Hiroshi," a voice called. "Are you home?" Mika's shoulders relaxed slightly. She recognized the voice. The door opened, and an older man stepped inside, ducking his head beneath the low frame. He was perhaps 60 years old, with gray threading through his dark hair and deep lines carved around his eyes and mouth. But his back was straight, and his movements were sure. He wore simple farmer's clothes, but they were clean and well-maintained. "Uncle Yudo." The name surfaced in my borrowed memories, along with a feeling of respect. "Uncle," I said, nodding in greeting. My voice sounded more formal than I intended. Yudo's sharp eyes swept over me, taking in my appearance, my posture, something in my expression. His eyebrows rose slightly. "You look different this morning," he said. It wasn't quite a question, but it invited explanation. "I feel different," I admitted. Mika brought tea without being asked, setting cups before us with shaking hands. Yudo thanked her gently, and some of the tension left her frame. She retreated to the far side of the room, but stayed within earshot. "I came to discuss the land situation," Yudo said, wrapping his weathered hands around the warm cup. "The magistrate's tax collector will arrive within the month. We need to have our affairs in order." I nodded, though uncertainty gnawed at me. The old Hiroshi's memories were fragmented, especially regarding practical matters. Too much sake had blurred the details. "The rice fields," Yudo continued, watching my face carefully. "You made certain promises last autumn, after the harvest festival. Do you remember?" Cold dread settled in my stomach. The way he said it, the careful tone, told me these were not good promises. "I was drunk," I said quietly. "Tell me what I agreed to." Yudo's expression softened slightly. Perhaps he heard something in my voice that surprised him. An admission of fault. A request for help rather than bluster and denial. "You wagered nearly a quarter of your land," he said, "to merchant Tanaka. You were certain the next harvest would be your best yet, and you bet against his prediction of drought." Mika made a small sound of distress from across the room. "There was drought," I said. It wasn't a question. I could feel the truth of it in my bones. "There was," Yudo confirmed. "But Tanaka hasn't collected yet. He's been patient, perhaps hoping you'll drink yourself into more debt. More bad decisions." The words should have stung, but they were true. The old Hiroshi had been walking a path toward ruin, dragging Mika down with him. "What can I do?" I asked. "How do I fix this?" Yudo studied me for a long moment. His eyes were dark and deep, like wells that had seen many seasons come and go. Finally, he set down his cup. "First, you stop drinking," he said. "Second, you work. The spring planting is crucial. If this harvest is good, you can negotiate with Tanaka. Perhaps pay him in rice instead of land. But it will require dedication. Hard work. No more wasted days." "I can do that," I said. The words came out firm, certain. "I will do that." "And third," Yudo continued, his voice dropping lower, "you make amends with your wife. A man alone can survive hardship, but a man and woman working together? They can overcome almost anything. You've forgotten that, Hiroshi, or you never knew it." His words settled over me like a heavy blanket. Truth often feels heavy, There is wisdom in patience, Yudo said, standing to leave, and in recognizing when we've lost our way. Some men never find a path back. I hope you will. He moved toward the door, then paused and turned back. When I was your age, I nearly lost everything too. My farm, my family. Pride is a poison that tastes sweet going down. Learn from the past, but don't let it paralyze you. Each sunrise is another chance. After Yudo left, the house felt different, quieter, but in a thoughtful way rather than a fearful one. I sat with his words, turning them over in my mind. Learn from the past. Each sunrise is another chance. The afternoon light shifted, painting new shadows across the floor. Mika moved about her work, still cautious but perhaps slightly less afraid. I helped where I could, moving carefully, speaking softly. Small steps. As the sun began its descent, I found myself drawn to the far corner of the room. There was a wooden chest there, old and battered, with iron fixtures that had rusted to a deep brown. I didn't remember looking in it before, but something pulled me toward it now. "What are you doing?" Mika asked. Her voice was soft, but held a note of concern. "I don't know," I admitted. I feel like there's something here. Something important." I knelt before the chest and lifted the lid. The hinges creaked, releasing the smell of old cloth and cedar. Inside were folded garments, a few documents wrapped in silk, and various small objects. Remnants of a life lived. My hands moved almost of their own accord, pushing aside fabric, searching. For what, I didn't know. Then my fingers touched something solid, something that made my breath catch. I pulled out carefully. A small wooden box, no larger than my palm. It was carved with intricate patterns, flowing designs that seemed to move in the fading light. Symbols I didn't recognize, but somehow felt familiar. My heart began to pound. "What is that?" Mika asked. She had moved closer, curiosity overcoming her caution. "I don't know," I whispered. But that was a lie. I didn't know, or part of me did. I had seen this box before, in my dreams, in those strange memories that didn't belong to this life. It had been there, in that other world, sitting on a shelf in a small apartment. But that was impossible. That world wasn't real. Was it? I turned the box over in my hands, feeling the weight of it. The wood was warm, almost alive. There was no visible latch, no obvious way to open it. "Hiroshi?" Mika's voice sounded distant, concerned. The patterns on the box seemed to shift under my gaze. Or maybe it was just the fading light playing tricks. But I could almost read them, almost understand. This box was important. It connected to something, to the strange dreams, to the reason I was here, in this body, in this life, to a truth I couldn't quite grasp. "Where did this come from?" I asked, looking up at Mika. She shook her head, her expression puzzled. "I've never seen it before. That chest has been in your family for generations. Your father left it to you. But I don't remember that box." I turned back to the object in my hands. My fingers traced the carved patterns, following their flow. They seemed to tell a story, though I couldn't decipher it. Not yet, but I would. Somehow, I knew this box held answers. About who I was. About why I was here. About what came next. The last rays of sunlight faded from the room, leaving us in shadow. Mika moved to light a lamp, and the warm glow pushed back the darkness. But the questions remained, hovering in the air between us like smoke. I closed my fingers around the box, feeling its weight settle into my palm. Tomorrow I would work the fields. I would begin to make amends. I would try to become the man Mika deserved. But tonight, I would study this box and wonder what secrets it held. What truth lay buried beneath the carved surface, waiting to be discovered. The stone feels warm under my fingertips, almost alive. I pull my hand back for a second, staring at the symbols carved into its surface. They glow with a soft blue light that pulses like a heartbeat. The cave walls around me reflect that light, making everything look underwater and strange. I reach out again. Can't help myself. The moment my palm presses flat against the stone, energy explodes through me. It's not painful, not exactly. More like every nerve in my body wakes up all at once. My muscles tense. My vision goes white. I want to pull away, but I can't move my hand. The energy keeps pouring in, filling me up like water in a cup, except I don't overflow. I just keep taking it in, My heart pounds so hard I think it might burst. Heat spreads from my chest down to my toes, up to the crown of my head. For a second, I think I'm dying. Then the warmth settles into something comfortable, something that feels like it's always been there, just sleeping. The light fades. My hand drops to my side. I'm breathing hard, bent over with my hands on my knees. Sweat drips off my nose onto the cave floor. What was that? I straighten up slowly, testing my limbs. Everything works. Actually, everything feels better than it did before. My bad knee doesn't ache. The constant tiredness that's been weighing me down for months has vanished. I feel like I could run for hours. I hold up my hands in the dim light. They look the same, but something's different. I can feel something flowing through them now, a current of power that wasn't there before. When I close my eyes, I sense the cave around me in a new way. The rocks, the air, even the moisture clinging to the walls. This doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. But I can't deny what I'm feeling. Something has changed inside me. Something big. The cave stretches deeper ahead, and suddenly I need to know what else is down here. My feet move before I make a conscious decision. The glowing moss provides enough light to see by, though that new sense I have tells me where the walls are even before I see them. The passage opens up after a few minutes of walking. I step into a massive chamber and freeze. Plants everywhere. Not just a few scattered weeds, but thick vegetation covering every surface. Vines hang from the ceiling. Bushes crowd against the walls. And fruits, dozens of different kinds, growing in impossible abundance. The air smells rich and earthy, like the best garden I've ever smelled multiplied by 100. This can't be natural. We're deep underground. How is anything growing down here? I walk forward, touching a vine heavy with purple berries. They're plump and ripe. Real. I pick one and squeeze it. Juice runs down my fingers. The smell is sweet and tangy. That power inside me pulses again. When I look at the plants now, I feel connected to them somehow. Like I could reach out with that strange new sense and touch their roots, their leaves, their very essence. I kneel beside a cluster of unfamiliar vegetables with thick green stalks. As I focus on them, that current of energy flows from my core down through my arm. Without thinking about it, I press my palm to the soil. The plants respond. I watch, stunned, as they grow an inch taller. Their leaves spread wider. New shoots push up through the dirt around my hand. I jerk back, heart racing again. I did that. Somehow I made them grow. My mind races with possibilities. If I can do this, if I can control plant growth, what else can I do? Can I make crops flourish? Can I grow food for the whole village? Uncle Yudo always said a man should find his purpose, find what he's good at, and use it to help others. Could this be mine? But I don't understand the limits. When I touched that stone, did it give me this power, or did it just wake up something that was always inside me? How much can I actually do? What if I try something and it goes wrong? Too many questions. Not enough answers. I stand up and brush the dirt from my hands. The chamber is huge, filled with resources I never imagined. If I could learn to control this power properly, I could cultivate things down here. Make this cave into something useful. Something valuable. The thought excites me and terrifies me at the same time. I need to go back. I need to think about this. Figure out what I'm going to do next. The climb out of the cave takes longer than I expect. By the time I emerge into daylight, the sun is setting. Orange and pink paint the sky above Hannah Valley. I blink in the brightness, my eyes adjusting after so long in the dark. The village spreads out below me. Small houses clustered together near the rice fields. Smoke rises from a few chimneys. Everything looks normal, peaceful, exactly as I left it. How long was I down there? Feels like hours, but it could have been longer.